go ahead and break out our mock NFL draft. It is time for the 2015 NFL draft coming this Thursday. The number 1 pick is going to be our hometown Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So with the first pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select quarterback Jameis Winston. Now, this is not a huge surprise to us. I think a lot of us wanted Marcus Mariota, but right now it seems Jameis Winston is, he is just the clutch number 1 pick. He looks like a sure thing. He has a lot of talent. Based on everything I've seen in the offseason, I'm actually okay with the pick, and I'm going to endorse it. K-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I've come to grips with it. I think that is probably what's going to happen. I am fine with either one of them, though. If we get Mariota, if we get Winston, I think we're going to be in good shape with either one of them. So, really, we can't go wrong here unless the Bucs trade out of the first pick.
Now, do you think that's a possibility?
I hope not, man. But the Bucs have done some things in the past that we weren't expecting. So, Josh Freeman, but... sorry. But, yeah, so I don't see that happening. You got to take one of these quarterbacks. We need a quarterback desperately, and these guys are both, to me, they have the potential to be elite caliber quarterbacks. Yeah.
Mike, your opinion on the pick?
I'm going to have to go with Winston here as well. I really want them to take Marcus Mariota, and I really would love it if they pull it's sort of what they did last year. No one knows who we're going to get, and, get someone random and pull off the Mariota when everyone thinks they're going to get Winston. I would love it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to go with Winston.
Kyle, who do you have them picking? Do you have them taking Mariota?
No, I haven't picked Winston. They've just done way too much investigating into Winston, and they haven't really found anything. There's a report that came out today or yesterday where they've asked 75 different people, professionals who have been in Jameis Winston's life about him. They're really digging deep into this guy, so I think everything's checking out, and that's who they're going to pick.
That's good to hear, and we'll see for sure if they go with Winston number 1 on Thursday. Now, number 2, a lot of people have Marcus Mariota, even though some people think their current quarterback, Zach Mettenberger, is actually a better quarterback than Mariota. So that's very confusing. Because of that, I think they're going to ride out with Mettenberger, and I think they're going with defensive tackle Leonard Williams. It's going to be a very surprising pick. It's a little bit of a weird pick because...
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to ride out with Mettenberger. Having 2 quarterbacks is not going to help their head coach save their job unless they're that much behind Mariota. And I just haven't heard them. I haven't heard anything from the Titans camp saying, we love Mariota. It's been more like, we'll pick him if we still have that pick. That kind of surprises me because I think they need to do something to help out the team. Leonard Williams... It's a talented defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is one of the rarest positions in the NFL.
Yeah, Leonard Williams might be the number 1 actual player in this draft.
A lot of people say so.
Down the road, next couple of years, he could be. So it's tough not to say that. I mean, there's a guy like, Dante Fowler who can really play linebacker or defensive end.
Yeah.
It's hard to pass up on that guy if you want to go pass rusher because I think he will be an elite pass rusher in the NFL. But they got to go Mariota, man. They were talking that earlier in the year about, going with Mettenberger, but come on, even watching both those quarterbacks in college, Mariota was leaps beyond, what Mettenberger was in college.
That's for sure. So that'll be interesting to see who they go with. I'm picking them to get Leonard Williams. Defensive tackle would really help out the Tennessee Titans, who need to upgrade in a lot of different areas. One player I think would be perfect for them is Amari Cooper, but it's all about having that number 2 pick. Who are you going to get? Who's going to be that value guy? Because if you have the number 2 pick, you better get an extremely rare position if possible.
I could see the Tennessee Titans actually trading down here with a team like St. Louis Rams that are at 10th. One of these other teams, I think, was going to try to get up into that number 2 spot to get either if Mariota's available to snag him. But imagine if the Bucs pick Mariota, how many teams are going to be flocking to get the number 2 to try to get Winston?
That's what I was just about to say. If Winston does not go number 1, you might have Tennessee. What I think is, let me explain what I think is going to happen first. I think there's going to be a trade with Tennessee. I think they're going to trade that number 2 spot to a team that covets Mariota if he is available. Now, like you said, Kyle, if Mariota is chosen by the Buccaneers, I believe you're going to have a lot of activity trying to get to that number 2 spot, but I don't think the Titans are going to give it up.
Yeah,
and I think they would take Winston right away.
They would take Winston
Really?
at that point
Absolutely.
as well. I agree. I think I don't know. In the NFL now, you're not going to succeed if you don't have a good quarterback. I mean, you can get some other pass rushers, second round, third round if need be. This draft's got quite a bit of them. To me, there's only 2 quarterbacks that have elite style status, potential. Obviously, they have a lot to learn still, but potential to get there, and you can't pass up on those guys.
Yeah, and the team I think that might trade here is unfortunately the Browns. I mean, they've got 2 first-round picks, and that's
a good call,
a lot
Mike.
to
They got a quarterback who's just getting out of rehab. Scary.
go.
So we'll see what they do over there. And I know they actually signed a couple other quarterbacks. They got a really crazy situation up there in Cleveland. Will they trade for Mariota? They seem to be one of the biggest rumors right now is that they are going to trade up. I still like Tennessee to surprise everybody and go with Leonard Williams. Number 3 pick I think is going to be another shocker because I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, who many people have taking Dante Fowler, are going to take Amari Cooper. So a lot of people are going to be surprised by this. And the one reason why I make this prediction, Kyle, this might surprise you, but I just look at Jacksonville's offseason game plan. They're trying to give as many weapons to Blake Bortles as possible, including signing Julius Thomas. They were going for DeMarco Murray. Were not able to do that. And the one guy they still need that number 1 wide receiver. It's funny because they drafted so many wide receivers last year. Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson, Marquise Lee. I think they draft Amari Cooper to be their number 1 guy and surprise everybody. Kyle, what do you think?
I could see that, but their biggest need right now, and the only thing that's going to make them a successful passing team, is if they actually protect Blake Bortles. So I see them going with Brandon Scherf here as the number 3 pick, offensive tackle out of Iowa. They need to solidify that offensive line. As you see around the league, look at the Cowboys. They struggled forever. What they do, they drafted nothing but linemen, and their team was very successful last year because they had that strong offensive line. I think this is a position here where they either go offensive line or they get an elite-style running back like Gurley.
Ooh, really? Gurley going that high? That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's on another level. I think this year you might actually see 2 running backs go top 10, which I can't remember the last time that's ever happened, really.
I disagree. We'll see what happens. I'm actually lower on the running backs than other people. I wouldn't want, like we drafted Cadillac Williams for the Bucks, and that's just one of those guys that would be so good if it wasn't for injuries. It's not his fault. And that's what I'm looking at with Gurley. You just hate for a guy to have a devastating injury before
the
even making
percentage
it.
of the second one was like 2% of NFL players that have that injury get it again. So
That's an interesting stat.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I don't think too many teams are really looking at that. Todd Gurley is one of the better running backs we've seen in a long time, and I think Melvin Gordon's right there behind him.
Very interesting. So let's go ahead and move on to number 4. I have the Jaguars picking Amari Cooper, and then you have Kyle having them picking Brandon Scherf. It's funny enough, neither of us went with Dante Fowler, which seems to be a likely pick there. Let's see where Fowler lands up in our mock draft. Number 4 overall pick, the Oakland Raiders. I have them picking a surprise selection here, which wouldn't shock us at all. I have them going with wide receiver Kevin White. So you might have Amari Cooper going, which could force Oakland. They might have Amari Cooper actually rated higher than Kevin White, but with Cooper off the board, I like the Raiders to get White. I know you like him, Kyle.
Yeah, that seems like what the Raiders normally would do. They're going to draft a receiver here with their first pick. They seem to kind of be known for that. And
they need one this year.
And it kind of fails for them. They do need one. Their defense is also terrible, so I could see Dante Fowler going here to the Raiders. But, yeah, I kind of agree with you. If Amari Cooper's available, it's hard not to take that guy when they don't have a great wide receiver right now. Yeah. I think James Jones is their number 1, and that's not going to work. No, you have a young quarterback, so he needs to have somebody to throw to. So, yeah, your pick here makes sense. I think if Amari Cooper's available, that's who to take. And I tell you what, if they get Kevin White right here at the 4 spot, that guy's going to be a beast.
Interesting. That would be a good fit. I kind of liked how Derek Carr was playing towards the end of the year, so I want to see them get a number 1 wide receiver and see if he can reach his potential. Unfortunately, his brother, David Carr, is one of the biggest busts in NFL history. Yeah. Hopefully his bro doesn't come down the same road. Let's move on to pick number 5, the Washington Redskins. They desperately need help on their defense. Really, they need help in a lot of other places. This would be a pick, because keep in mind, Kyle, I still have Mariota on the board here. Washington Redskins, do they mix up Mariota with RG3? That would be pretty crazy, but
they just re-signed RG. Well, they didn't re-sign him. They took his option for next year. So,
and they got your boy Colt McCoy as well. I'm going to go with Dante Fowler here. I think they make the pick. Dante Fowler, a guy who I don't like as much as other people. I'm a big Gator fan. I've watched a lot of Fowler, and even though he made plays despite facing off with double teams, I find it hard to pick him in the top 4, top 3. I think he falls to the Redskins, and they'll be very happy with that pick. Kyle?
Yeah, I agree. I think right here you could possibly see the Redskins taking one of those other receivers that are available if they don't go defense. I think they really need to beef up that defense, and I think if Fowler's available, they're going to take him. If not, then look for a guy like Shane Ray to go right here in this spot.
Okay. Number 6 pick, the New York Jets. Guys, I think Marcus Mariota is going to fall to the Jets. This is going to be a nice landing spot, and this could be a huge pick for New York there, the Jets. K-Mac, what do you think if that goes down?
That'd be pretty crazy. If Mariota falls to 6, that's going to be pretty interesting because, I mean, you think if by 4 or 5 somebody's going to try to trade up to get him. Like I said, St. Louis Rams desperately need a quarterback, so I think they would move up before the Jets had a chance to get Mariota. Mm-hmm. For Marcus Mariota's for him, I hope he doesn't go to the Jets. Just seems like a black hole for quarterbacks. So it's a tough one for the Jets, man, because they need help in a few different spots. If Mariota's not there, I don't see him going Brett Hundley that early. I think they can wait till the second round to get a guy like Brett Hundley.
Yeah, no way.
And so I mean, if Brandon Sheriff is there, if he doesn't go like I'm thinking that he's going to go number 3, then I think they take him. I think like I said, I think the NFL is starting to learn. A lot of these other teams are starting to realize, look, I don't care what kind of mobile quarterback you have, what receivers you have, what running backs you have. If you don't have a good offensive line, you ain't going to do shit. And, I mean, you saw last year, these quarterbacks had no time to throw in New York.
Not at all. They really had a lot of issues. Perhaps that would be a good thing if they brought in a mobile quarterback if Mariota somehow falls to them. I know if he's available when the Jets come up, they're going to get him no matter what. I feel like that's a perfect fit. It's all about if they can wait, or maybe, K-Mac, they trade up with a Washington, with an Oakland, because Washington and Oakland fall back to number 6. They can live with that, especially Oakland, who can probably get Kevin White at that territory. Yeah. I really hope that the Jets actually get Mariota. I think that he can maybe turn that organization around wearing the same green, a little bit similar to the Oregon Ducks. Let's move on. Raspo, we have come to the Chicago Bears. There's some interesting players left on the board. I feel like this top 10 is a little bit weaker than in the past few drafts. But there's one guy who Kyle's been talking about a lot who has fallen in my mock draft to the number 7 spot. There's an offensive tackle, Brandon Scherf, big guy from Iowa, which is an offensive line factory. What do you think? Do you think the Bears, because many people say they need a wide receiver. I feel like they have a number 1 wide receiver in Alshon Jeffrey. They don't have to go crazy. Yeah. Maybe solidify an offensive line spot. Give Jay Cutler more time.
Yeah, I mean, if they do go wide receiver, I was looking at some information earlier. Maybe they go Kevin White from West Virginia.
He wouldn't be available in my mock draft.
Right, but, with that being said, what you just mentioned, RJ, the Bears, Cutler is known for getting sacked all the time and just not having any time to throw or think. And I feel bad for Cutler because Cutler is actually a pretty damn good quarterback if you give him a chance.
Yes.
So I really do hope they go for offensive line.
Well, I mean, of course, they lost Brandon Marshall, so that's why people are saying, man, if they can get Kevin White, if they can get one of the other stud wide receivers, imagine if Amari Cooper falls, that would be excellent. Oh, wow. Kyle, what do you foresee in Chi-Town?
Oh, I'm thinking all those guys are going to be gone at this point, and the Bears, man, their defense is a laughingstock in the NFL. I think they go with a guy like Vic Beasley out of Clemson, linebacker. They really need to solidify that linebacker position, and this would be a good spot to get this guy. Okay. I think he's really one of the best. He probably is the best linebacker in this draft.
Yeah, he's a weird player because I like him. I'm with you. I'm very high on Vic Beasley. Unfortunately, he's one of those. He's a linebacker, but he's another pass rushing specialist like Dante Fowler, where it's like, yeah, he's a linebacker, but he's got a feature in the pass rush, like Von Miller. And Vic Beasley, I wish he was more of a better all-around player. Despite that, I feel like he's a good fit for Chicago. I think with the offensive tackle available, they got to go with that. That's a perfect fit for them. Moving Vic Beasley to the next pick for me, the Atlanta Falcons, they desperately need a pass rush in Atlanta. It's hard to name some of their key pass rushing members to the point of one of their best guys is, he's not even a top guy in the NFL. He's just their best guy. That's why they need someone like Vic Beasley to come in. I'm sure you'd be happy with that from a Falcons perspective, right, Kyle?
Yeah, for sure. And, with the Falcons, man, this is where I could see one of those surprise picks and them taking one of these running backs. They really don't have a solidified number one true running back. You have an old Steven Jackson.
Jackson actually did pretty decent
Yeah,
last year.
but he's old. I mean, let's get that straight. And we know that he doesn't really last the whole season. They have a few other players who are okay, but none of them are like stand out to me. And I could see if there's no more of these, because in my list, the pass rushing, they're all, your main elite pass rushers are gone.
Yeah.
So if that happens, I could see them taking a running back. And it'd be Todd Gurley.
And right now, the Steven Jackson update is pretty good. He's completely healthy. He's coming into the season full strength. How long can he last? He's an old man at this point.
And that's definitely not going to be for the next year or two,
The good thing about Steven Jackson for the Falcons is he's making not much money at all, only $1.2 million. So you're going to have him definitely, of course, coming through. The problem is he's still a free agent, so he's not guaranteed to sign with the Falcons, but I really feel like with not making too much money, there's no reason why Atlanta should not re-sign him, considering that he did pretty well for him last year, surprisingly. Now, if they draft Todd Gurley, like K-Max said, is a possibility, do they not sign Steven Jackson at all? That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Now, the next two picks, I'm a huge fan of the offensive line class coming out, and even though I already have Brandon Scherf, I think number 9, the New York Giants, they desperately need an offensive lineman. They're going with I believe his name is La'el Collins.
Yeah, from LSU.
Yeah, big guy. He had a great year. I've heard a little bit of hate, but if you just go by his career on the field, he looks great.
Yeah. I like a guy out of your guys' hometown, Florida, man. DJ Humphries, man. He's a great tackle, and I think this is a guy that a lot of teams aren't going to pass up on. So if he's available there, I think they take him at that spot.
Okay, interesting pick right there, Kyle. I mean, the Giants, another team that needs a lot of help, but that's another team where people are saying maybe they go with a running back. Perhaps Gurley goes to the Giants, because then you have, I mean, we all know Rashad Jennings is great when he's on the field, but he's injury-prone as hell.
Yep. And
then they just signed Shane Vereen. If you get Todd Gurley, all of a sudden they have a three-headed beast monster. What do you think about the Giants, Mike, if you had to pick a position for them? They need a lot of help, but at the same time, you got Odell Beckham Jr. last year. They're riding a high.
Yeah, I think if they were able to get one of these top running backs, that would be huge for their offense. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I think Gurley would be huge.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny how Kyle brings up DJ Humphries. I said I was a huge fan of the offensive line class coming into this year's draft. I don't even have Humphries as the next offensive tackle going. The St. Louis Rams, I think they're going with Andres Pete from Stanford, another great player, and that's going to make 3 offensive tackles in the top 10.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Rams going offensive line? Their offensive line is shot right now.
Yeah, they do, but they don't have a quarterback right now. I mean, they have to get a quarterback or try to do something to pick up a quarterback here. And Brett Hundley's available. Unless they feel that he's going to be available coming around second round, which he probably will be. They might wait on him, but I just feel in this draft now, as we're getting even to the 10th pick, I just feel like the elite players are done. I
feel like you have no hope in Nick Foles, Kyle. How could you give up on this guy?
Foles?
How could the Eagles give up on him? I mean, there's something going on there. You think? I mean, they're going to trade.
He was terrible last year.
A twice injured, actually 3 times going back to college, injured quarterback, and Sam Bradford for a guy that's perfectly healthy. It's really weird what the Eagles did there, but I think you need. I don't know. Unless they have a plan that's going to work for him, I just think that 1 year that he had, that was kind of a fluky season, and we're probably not going to see that at Nick Foles again.
Well, we'll see what comes out of the Rams this year. If they can get a good offensive lineman, which I have them doing, that might help out Nick Foles in their offense, because they do have some weapons. People don't really understand how good of weapons they have. Trey Mason, I feel like that's a good running back, decent wide receiver talents. Tavon Austin, people want to hate on him, but he still makes plays. He doesn't get a huge, doesn't get a lot of stats, but he does make plays.
I think a guy like Devontae Parker, our wide receiver out of Louisville, would fit good for them. I think he'd fit in that style pretty good, and some people got Devontae Parker as maybe being one of the better receivers in this draft, so
I think so.
that could be a spot where they pick him there in that number 10 spot.